Welcome to The Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all of the money, business, and stock market tea.
Brought to you by the Curve's research team. It's the latest insights on what's happening in the stock market, companies, other money-related news so that you can stay educated and ahead of the curve.
You can thank us later for sounding smarter than those finance bros at your next dinner party.
So Vic, I think I've fallen in love with LA.
I feel like you need to go to every city in the world and then make a decision, because every new place you go to, it's quite cute. Sorry, that's condescending. It's quite
endearing, I think is what you're going for.
Endearing, yeah, that you go to every new city with like rose tinted glasses of like you only see the best, and I think it's great. But let's do every city first before we decide.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. But I think the time zone, like being between the UK and New Zealand, is great for work.
Oh, definitely.
But also just like this is like the start of the center of the world. I don't know how to explain it. Like there are, you know, those cars, Weeways or Wooways or whatever they're called, that drive themselves, shooting down the street. There's like these little robot things that go and pick up your Uber Eats and drop them to you. Like it is wild. Like it's really, I don't know how to explain it, but like, you know, even when we had Rachel filling in for you when you were away, and she spoke about that like drink brand called Poppy, and it's like it was bought by Pepsi for like $2 billion, and it's like a functional drink, you know, it's got like adaptogens and blah, blah, blah in it. Anyway, I'm staying here with one of my best friends, and she's been giving me the full tour, and she took me to this supermarket called Erewhon or something. And there's this entire. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. It's like iconic.
Oh, I was just like, I want to move in. How do I get a job? This is insane. Like the most amazing food. Like
they're like $20 punnet of blueberries and the $20 smoothies, and
take all my money. I'm fine with it. Like it's amazing. Anyway, I was like, is this a public company? And she was like showing me all these like products that do well. Anyway, there's this entire wall, like this huge fridge full of like poppies, not poppies, but all these different brands, from like kombuchas to this to that. Like I was just like, this is insane. And it feels like everything, like the innovation happens here, you know? I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. You see, and I said to her, she was like, this tuna brand's really good. This thing's going off. This is an amazing fast fashion brand and I was just like, can you feed this info back to us? Like all of these ideas are investing ideas, you know? Like say it in the club. We'll go research it, and then, because she was sort of saying like there's this clothing brand called it's kind of like an H&M, Zara, more expensive, but like going off at the moment, and just stuff like that where you just don't know unless you're here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can say that about anywhere in the world, right? Like you're a little echo chamber of your surroundings, and like yes, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, and yes, LA is a big major city, but people would come to London and say the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. But like, as an example, yesterday we went, so Skims has opened a store in West Hollywood, and we went in there and it was just absolutely packed. You would have loved it. Like there was just like underwear on sale, apparel.
Oh my God, can you buy me some? I'll send you my sizes.
Literally there was like a queue out the door, and inside the shop is this giant body with like this huge ass that you're just like trying to get around to try and get to the underwear and stuff. And I was just like, this is just, I don't know, it feels like it's where everything happens first. That's what it feels like being here. Yeah, from like the type of exercise classes that there are to the sorts of food to the sorts, it just feels forward but backwards. Like we went to the comedy show last night, and there was all these people just like absolutely rinsing. People from Texas, any of the blue states, anyone that votes Trump. You know, it was like this little echo chamber where they're making jokes about all the news that we talk about every week in the Curve Weekly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just like, this is where it's at. Oh my God, I keep just being like, I want to tell Vic about this. Oh, do you know what I have done? Which you'll be like, what is wrong with you? I also forgot to get health insurance.
Oh.
Like going to America without health insurance. Are you all good? Like, no.
So
I'm being very careful.
Oh, and so you still haven't got it?
Well, I can't because now that I'm here, I'm just fucked. Like if something happens and I have to go to hospital.
I'm pretty sure you can get insurance when you've already started.
Mm-mm.
You definitely can. You can get travel insurance.
No, you can't. Not when you're in the country.
You definitely can. What if your plans change?
I'll look that up, but I'm pretty positive you've got to get it before you go, because otherwise you could just be like, put off needing to go to the doctor, get travel insurance, and then go use it. You know? I just realized, can you hear this giant Dyson behind me?
Is it like,
Yeah, I'm going to turn it off. Because that's an air purifier because of all the LA fires.
Oh, yeah. What's that like? Have you gone through the Palisades?
So I haven't gone through it, but we went to a coffee shop this morning and I was standing in front of this woman and we just started talking and she was like, she was just like, oh, like most of my friends lost their homes. Like my kids have had to change school because the primary school burnt down. Like just, whoa. And that's sort of what I mean about you hear all this news or you hear like trends that are happening, but unless you're living it, you feel sort of separate.
It's like, if you've visited somewhere and then you see a natural disaster or, it's way more real. Or if you go and visit somewhere after, like I remember to visit 9/11 after it had happened and you're just like, wow, the scale of that versus what you see on TV. Like, everything, it's just perspective, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I was speaking to my friend about was the idea of health insurance, because you know how everyone bangs on about like you need health insurance in the US, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really understand how it worked, but I thought it was actually quite interesting to explain for anyone that doesn't know. So like your job, like your full package, when people are looking for new jobs or whatever, they're like, well, what's your health insurance policy? Like, so she was explaining that like her workplace, it's quite massive. So there's like 3,000 employees or whatever. So she pays, I think it's $150 US a month towards her health insurance, but the business is paying like $850 US a month towards her health insurance. So if she had to pay that all herself, can you imagine? Nearly $1,000 a month just in health insurance. But then on top of that, there's like an amount, like 4,000 US you have to have spent out of pocket before your health insurance kicks in. So like you have to spend up to like 4,000 US and then your health insurance pays up to 80%. I'm like, oh my God, no wonder no one has health insurance. It's unbelievably expensive.
Oh, the US health system is like so effed up. Like that is why the United Healthcare CEO got shot in broad daylight. Well, not in broad daylight, but
did he? Holy fuck.
Yeah, because people and everyone was cheering on the murderer. Not everyone, but a lot of people, because these big, United Healthcare is one of the largest health insurers in the US, had said no. And there was like doctors coming out saying, your mid-surgery was someone and they've been declined health insurance and you can't proceed. It's so effed up over there. Yeah, I've had a friend whose wife was pregnant and his company screwed up his visa or something, and so he didn't have health insurance, and he was told he had to leave the country in a month, and his wife was like, well, I can't fly, but if I stay in the US I have no health insurance and I'm about to give birth. And it was like this whole kerfuffle, and they were like, well, it's the company's fault because they didn't file the visa properly. Anyway, it turned into this whole drama, and it's just like so scary being in a country where one of the most developed countries in the world, yet there isn't a support network in terms of healthcare that you could fall back on if you needed to.
Like the fact that people are just getting turned away, like dying and not getting operated on or not getting the medicine they need because they don't have insurance is, I can't even imagine what that would be like to work in a hospital or an environment that, just never doesn't put people first because they can't, because the money's not going to come from anywhere to. You think about how many millions of people there are in the US. If there's all these people that don't have health insurance, of course they can't, but it's just like such a messed up system.
And the doctors there being like having a moral obligation to work on a patient because they're sick or injured, and yet the person's like, please don't, because then I have to pay. Oh, it was just so screwed. Anyway.
So actually my friend who I'm staying with, she was saying, in the US you can get fired like that, so the other day her boss's boss or whatever, they were on a call, they were like, so Serena's leaving or whatever her name was. Yep, we told her today. And it's like, what? And then anyway, so she was, because she's also pregnant, and she was like, so it works both ways where like you can leave your job that day if you want to, you know, so her healthcare, it's the same thing as your friend, is tied to her work.
Yeah.
So if tomorrow they turned around and were like, you don't have a job anymore, she doesn't have health insurance, she's pregnant, she's like, I don't know what I'd do. And anyway, she was searching for income protection, which, you know, we've spoken about on the podcast before, which is the idea of like, if for some reason you lose your income, insurance basically can kick in and like help pay. So she can get, I think, up to 3 months or something of a percentage of her wage. But she said she was absolutely scouring the internet, couldn't find any insurers that would insure income. She had to get someone like on the other side of the country. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things that I'm just like, this is so bizarre for such a forward-thinking country. It's so backwards. Like she has like 5 credit cards because she's trying to get her credit score up so that she can borrow money and be in good debt. So she has to get all these credit cards, manage her debt. Like imagine if you didn't know what you were doing and you mucked it up. The downward spiral of like not having the education, not knowing how to get out of your, you know, it's so messed up.
Well, it's like there's beauty in smaller countries with such simple systems. And yes, there's like, it's a double-edged sword because, you know, we live in New Zealand, for example, and there is a very simple retirement scheme. There is a very simple healthcare scheme, but we can't invest in some of the biggest household names and we don't see these forward-thinking brands and we don't see, you know, we don't see all that, but there's like pluses and minuses to every city that you live in, right? But yeah, and transport's not expensive as it is in the US and in the UK. And like there's well, it may seem small sometimes and almost suffocating sometimes. And, you know, there's maybe not a lot going on.
What do you mean? Winter in New Zealand's so much fun.
And I don't mean that. I just mean, you know, like when you go to these big, exciting new cities and you're like, oh my God, they're so exciting and new products and like all these brands and these, you know, new concepts. And then, but yeah, you're right. There is like downfalls as well and incredible minefields of healthcare and superannuation schemes and all of that. Like you get 2 weeks holiday in the US, 2 weeks. Like that is insane. And if you take it sometimes, it's like you don't appreciate your job. Like there's so many things that are absolutely effed up. But anyway, one of the good things is that the US stock market is doing very, very well again. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yes. No, I saw this in your notes. And then I quickly checked my portfolio to see how it was going.
Yes.
And in the time, I mean, how long ago was it that we had the giant wobble? Was it like 6 weeks ago-ish?
Yeah, like 4 to 6 weeks ago, yeah.
So I've nearly made 2,000 USD from the investments that I made during that time. Isn't that wild?
Imagine if you had more money to invest, you know, and that 2,000 was 200,000. It's like money makes money, baby.
100%. This is literally, I was like, imagine if I'd had, because I put like 10,000 in, which is, by the way, quite a lot, you know, like that's not exactly nothing, but I thought the same thing. Imagine if I'd done 10 times this.
Well, this is the thing, right? We're sitting here now and the stock market's gone up nearly 20% in the last few weeks. What's to say we're not going to be sitting here in another few weeks or months and the stock market has gone up another 20% and we're going, damn it, I wish I'd invested more. Like you just never know. And so as long as you are investing as much as you can, then you won't have that regret of, oh my God, I should have invested more, you know, because we're always going to have that. Like we're always going to miss out on good opportunities and not invest in, but you can't think like that. You've got to be like, I'm doing the best that I can and that's going to put me in the best position for the future.
Yeah, I think this is a really good lesson because when all of the stuff was going down with the tariffs and blah, 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 in my like heart and my brain, I was like, I believe that this is going to come back. You know, like I wasn't too scared. I definitely had moments where I was like, oh God, am I having a total shock of putting money into the market right now? But generally I was like, the market goes up to the right, the market goes up to the right, you know?
Exactly. Always come back to the facts. The facts is that markets always recover.
But my point is that like when those things happen, it's so easy to go into like, you know, the media frenzy, which is, you know, blogs and articles and news headlines everywhere being like, you know, we're going into a global recession, blah, 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 blah. I think the biggest thing that it's taught me is just, because this is probably the first major wobble that I've like lived through as an investor. And I think it was
COVID?
just...
I guess you weren't really investing.
Yeah, but I wasn't...
significantly.
Not at all. I was learning about it, but I wasn't really investing. Certainly wasn't putting $10,000 in the stock market. But it's just been a really good learning for me to, in those moments, get rid of the fear, remember what we, you know, teach literally every day, every week. And I think the more times that happens, it's like almost building your muscle or your resistance, or what's the word? Your resilience towards like the ups and downs of the market. Because the more times that you can hold on and not go and sell stuff or buy more, even better, you're kind of like proving to yourself like, yeah, okay, I do know what I'm doing. This is fine. We're all okay, you know?
Yeah. And also like, the reason the headlines are so excited when these stock market falls happen is because they don't happen that often. So it's boring to have a headline, the stock market's up 5% again, the stock market's up 10%. You know, these corrections and these falls, they don't happen very often. So it's like they're one time to be like, yes, cool. You know, like.
Do you know what I will say though? Like, so the friend that I'm staying with over here works in like kind of new product development, I guess, or in that space. And she, you know, I was listening in on the way back from the airport on a call she had, and they were talking about the price that they'd given for something, like the invoice or something was needed to be adjusted because it was given before the tariffs came in and they needed to update all the pricing. And I was just like, gosh, you know, the reality of how much that's impacting businesses was it was kind of this light bulb moment of, again, you can hear about it, but then when you see someone's job being really affected and impacted by something, you're like, oh, wow, okay, this is quite major. And even though they've paused tariffs, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a second, if and when that does come back, it's really, really not ideal.
Oh, I've spoken to so many friends over the past few weeks that have businesses, and they're exhausted, you know? It's like, how do you function and plan and budget and forecast for a business when you have no idea what's going to happen around the corner? And they just all look exhausted, and I feel so sorry for any small business, big business going through this, because it must be so incredibly hard. And I just thank our lucky stars that we have a services business and we don't have to navigate this.
Imagine if like 90% of our business was like the investing planners or something.
Oh, yeah, or T-shirts, and we had to ship
yeah.
It'd be such a distraction, such a business distraction. But yes, you're right. The reason that the stock market has gone up is because there is a truce between the US and China right now.
Are we worried about why they're in a truce?
A truce?
I've just had so many juices since I've been here. Like the amount I spend on takeaway drinks is unreal.
I'm really worried for like, have you budgeted for these $20 US juices?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that you say that because, so okay, here's the thing. I've been putting money into a travel amount, which I've been doing for like 6 months. And I've probably got about £800 in there at the moment, which is meant to be getting me to a destination wedding in a few months. Haven't booked the flights, haven't paid for accommodation. So like there is a chance that I'm like actually maybe having a blowout. But rather than like all of my, you know, Vietnamese takeaway iced coffees going out of my like, you know, wants amount, as in my normal food takeaway budget, I'm taking it out of my travel budget. Because I'm kind of like, I've put money there to enjoy being overseas, you know, like that's the purpose of that fund.
Yeah.
The worst part is though, is that my friend is paying for stuff and we're going to then split it afterwards. So I actually don't know how much we've spent. That's been a bit of a mess. Well, it's because like a lot of the time they need credit cards or whatever, and I've only got Apple Pay. So
it's kind of the worst when it pops later and you're like, hey, can you send me
$1,000 for like all the things we've done? And I'm like, bless your heart. Like, it's so kind of you to be paying as you go. But also now I don't really have context for how much we've spent.
You know what? My goal is to be able to go on holiday with my friends and not use Splitwise and just have the funds to be like, you know what? I've got this, guys. Like
me too.
How nice. Oh,
I know.
To be like, you know what? Don't worry about Splitwise this trip. It's on me.
Oh,
you know?
it'd be so good. Yeah. You let me know when you're there so I can come on holiday with you.
Yeah. Everyone will be like, I'll come. Like, whoa,
yeah.
Whoa.
When are we going to Italy? I'm hungry. Vic, you've got this one, right?
Yeah. But yes, we were talking about tariffs and a truce, not juice. And the US and China have had a truce. Oh my God, now I can't even think what I'm talking about. So tariffs are no longer going to be 145% on Chinese goods being imported to the US. They're only going to be 30%. So they're still high, but they're not as high as people had thought. So people kind of like reacted to the news of it being 145%, and now they're back to 30. Everyone's like, okay, this isn't as bad as we thought, and that's why stock prices have gone up. But I just want to say, like, this is only a 90-day truce. Like, this is not tariffs back to, they've completely disappeared. Also, if one thing the last kind of 2 months has told us is that Trump's word means shit. Like, I'm sorry. I would not be able to even do business on this announcement because I'm so scared tomorrow that he's going to change his mind. And I'm just get really nervous the fact that the stock market is up now and people are just kind of forgetting about this. And I think one thing we've just got to be really cognizant about, and one thing we've got to like learn from all of this, is that like diversification is just so key because we have no idea what's going to happen around the corner. We've got this erratic person in power in one of, like you said, one of the most, advanced countries in the world, and we don't know what he's going to do tomorrow. And I think that's really a really scary place to be in, and the best defense that you can have is to diversify.
A good offense.
Yes, like basketball. I used to play basketball.
You know, I was quite good. I was. You're really good. Short.
I know. I was defense.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. I got fouled off because I used to get so angry.
Did you?
That's so roughed
funny.
Up.
Did you have your eyebrow piercing at this point in your life?
No, that was another phase that I had. Yeah.
I think that the biggest takeaway here is, I don't know, maybe this is a bad takeaway, Vic, but this is what it's making me think. You know, when most people panic when the stock market falls and then they will panic sell, it's actually making me feel like, should I be selling now that I've made a 20% return in such a short space of time?
No, that's what we call timing the market. No, we are not timing the market here, because what if it goes up another 20% and you've sold out and you'd be so gutted?
Actually, that's what we did with crypto, and that was gutting.
Yeah.
We were like, we've doubled our money, and we took it out and then it went up by like 7 times.
No, we invest consistently and regularly, and we take advantage of opportunities.
Okay.
Get that on a bumper sticker. Yeah. But yeah. Imagine me rolling around. But with this whole 90-day truce, people are expecting a lot of products to kind of be flooding the shops and stuff, because people have almost been holding back all of these products, like companies and businesses. And now they're like, okay, cool, let's go. We've got like a 30-day, we've got a 90-day window. Let's go, get as much product out as we can before the prices go up. So plus side, we could get a lot of kind of cheap coffee machines, smoothie machines. You can make your own $20 Erewhon smoothie. The Curve Investing Club is the world's first digital investing club for women to build their wealth. It's a place where industry experts like myself and beginners can really, really join forces to share knowledge, swap ideas, and make money through investing. So if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are aware that saving alone, unfortunately, can't make you a millionaire, but investing definitely could. So we wholeheartedly believe in the power of community, and that the best investment ideas come when we collaborate and learn with each other. So bring your friends, your mum, even strangers on the street if you want. There really is strength in numbers, and we're so excited to create a community that's just for you. In other news, Japan.
Okay, so this is something that I'm quite excited to talk about. And I have a whole take on Japan, but I want you to take this away and see. I want to see if I'm right.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, okay, actually, maybe take your headphones out and don't listen for a second. And I'll tell everyone what I think about Japan, and then you put them in and tell us. Okay, so I think with Japan, that Japan will be the new China. I think that all these, like, you know how Warren Buffett for years has been talking about how he's been slowly investing in Japan. And we were all like, what does Warren Buffett see that we don't? maybe it's Trump. Everything's going to all be diverted and made in in Japan from now on. Yeah, that basically Japan's going to become the new China, and that's why he's invested heavily in China. Oh, you can totally hear me, you bitch. I can hear you laughing. Okay, I'm done now. Maybe she's not listening.
Oh my God, that was so weird. All I heard was like...
Could you see? I was convinced you were listening to me.
No, I couldn't hear a thing.
Okay, great. So do tell me, what do you think? What do you think about Japan? Love to hear.
I have invested in a Japanese ETF. And I did it a while back when Warren Buffett first kind of was talking about his investments in Japan. So just being a bit of a copycat. And anyway, he's come out in his kind of recent annual meeting and reaffirmed his really, really strong stance on Japan. Now, we know that he's stepping down as CEO from Berkshire Hathaway. We spoke about that last week. But the company itself, which is based on his investment strategy, has got over $24 billion invested across 5 Japanese companies, but he's taking a very, very long-term view. Like, he takes a very long-term view with all his holdings, Japan in particular, but it was just the fact that he has doubled down on this, and this is something that we are going to talk about in the club this week. Ooh. So yes, there's been a few people that have been interested in it. So I'm going to dig deep into a Japanese ETF.
Oh my God, awesome.
Yeah, and Berkshire Hathaway. So we're going to do a whole bunch. Yep.
What types of, you don't need to even name what they are, and we can put this in the club, but like what types of companies are these 5 Japanese businesses? Like what industry do they operate in?
It's a combination of lots of different industries, but they're like big, what you'd call like trading companies. So they have like lots of different division, like different. The thing with Japanese companies, there are a lot of kind of corporations with what might be a industrial company, a manufacturing company. They've got the huge big conglomerates.
Okay, so what's our overarching take on Japan? Why Japan?
So the reason that Japan is attractive is because it has been, it's had deflation, it's had low growth, it's been kind of a bit of a, what would you say, a forgotten economy for a while, and been kind of uninteresting, uninvestable. People have been like, you know what, China's the exciting one, India's the exciting one, US is the exciting one. But foreign investors in the 1970s owned 5% of the Japanese stock market. So 5%. That's like so tiny. And now they own 32%. So that's still really, really low, but it shows just like the incredible interest in Japan. And that is going to go even higher in terms of percentage, in my opinion. So I think there's going to be a lot of foreign interest, and we know when there's increased interest, increased demand, that drives prices up.
Yes, okay. We haven't got to the point that I've thought was the reason, so maybe I'm wrong. But is there, in your opinion, a reason that Warren Buffett has decided Japan and that there's this huge opportunity? Like, why? What are all of the factors that contribute to Japan being potentially a much more booming economy in the future?
The big overarching reason is that it's turning from a deflationary environment to an inflationary. So deflationary is really, really bad. It's like people don't want to spend money. They're like, you know what, it's going to be cheaper tomorrow. It's just really, really bad for economic growth. And it's now turning into an inflationary, which is really, really good. It's got an aging population, so that's something that they have to monitor as well. They've got a very, very high percentage of older people that, are very reliant on what we talked about before, healthcare. So that costs the economy a lot, pension, all of that.
Damn, I thought I had a really good idea here and I've totally missed it.
Well, I think you will. Just tell me.
Oh, no, I don't think I got it right. My idea was just with all the stuff that's happening in China with the US and all the tariffs, that eventually Japan might be the place that like a lot is manufactured. There's a lot more happening in Japan because it hasn't been seen as this place that's, particularly, attractive for manufacturers, for goods and exportation and blah, 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 but that maybe, we spoke maybe last week or a few weeks ago about how China didn't used to be the place for everything to be made. It just happened to be the cheapest, and therefore everyone now made in China is like a tagline that's just so normal. But with all these tariffs and the, China, US, that there might be another economy that really benefits from this, and that maybe Japan was going to be the up and coming place for that.
Yeah. And I think you'll part of that would definitely be true because the tariffs on Japan, actually the tariffs on Japan are pretty high as well. But Japan is already a very developed country. And so therefore the wages that you're paying to get something manufactured or made in Japan is going to be, expensive or just as expensive as the US. Whereas really, really great mindset though, Soph, because that is kind of how you should be thinking about it. But it's probably more places like India that will benefit, where they've got low wages. You can still get things made that are, at a very, reasonable price or cheaper price as opposed to, China. And like the thing with Warren Buffett and the thing with the reason that he's doubling down in Japan, he's thinking way more long term than tariffs. Like he is not thinking about the next 4 years. He's thinking about the next 50 years. So he is, that's what he's thinking about. And so, well, that's sometimes so incredibly hard to do because the world's going to look so different in 50 years' time than it will in, say, the next few years. The way you're thinking about it is correct in a sense.
How weird is it that for Warren Buffett, he's 96 and he's making these investment decisions based on a future he's not even going to see? Like, it's quite amazing.
And to be honest, that's what we should all be thinking, but it's so hard to do. Gosh, I feel like the world's changed so much in the last 2 years, let alone. Yeah. Anyway, one other thing that I wanted to mention, two other things actually. Firstly is Novo Nordisk. So this is the company that manufactures and makes Ozempic and Wegovy, the two weight loss drugs.
Sorry, is Wegovy, have they basically created almost like a rival for Ozempic? What's the difference in those two?
They're both weight loss drugs. Ozempic was just the first one that came to market, and then Wegovy, and now there is so many. There's oh my God, I feel like pharmaceutical names, can they just not call it
A, B, C, D, get a bit more
this is the
mainstream.
This is the apple, this is the banana, this is the orange drug.
Hurricanes, they're like Hurricane Katrina, you're like perfect.
Yeah,
or Hurricane Sarah, great, got it.
Do you know, my sister thought that it was whatever meteorologist spotted the hurricane got it named after them. So she thought,
I love that.
Katrina spotted it, so she gets it named. I was like, no, you idiot. It goes in alphabetical order. So it's like.
To be fair, I thought the .com bubble, which we talk about all the time, was because of Kim.com. So sorry, back to Novo Nordisk. So actually on this, a lot of people in the club are keen to talk about some of the investments in this space too, which are we going to do this month? Because I was I saw a few people being like, can you look into this? And I was like, oh, I'm actually so interested to hear about that too.
Yes. So an update on Novo Nordisk. So it was been one of the most phenomenal stocks you could have owned. It has been up 300% in the last 8 years. It's done
8 years. Wow.
It's been an insane performer because of this hype of weight loss drugs are going to absolutely change the world. But recently, in the last 12 months, it has not done very well. And it's because Eli Lilly, which is another big pharmaceutical company, has launched a drug that is very similar, and it is taking market share. So the reason I want to talk about this company though is because the CEO has been ousted. He's been asked to leave.
How effed off would you be if you've you've increased the share price by 300% and they're like, thanks so much, John, bye.
Oh, he has made this. At one point, it briefly became Europe's most valuable company, ahead of LVMH, ahead of companies that have been around forever. It became Europe's most valuable company, and he was at the helm, and he tripled sales, and shareholders got incredible returns, and they're like, oh, okay, no, recently we're losing market share, see you, bye. I would be so pissed off. But
also just the fact that like all those people can dictate who runs the company is so weird to me. Like imagine if the curve got huge and all of a sudden, I don't know, you were CEO and you decided to make a curve coin in crypto and everyone thought it was a terrible idea and our stock price fell and then everyone was like, actually, Victoria, can you get out of your seat? We want someone else in there. Like it's brutal.
That's what we say when you become a part owner of a company. Like the shareholders, the investors own the business. And
So
if
weird.
enough of them vote in one way or the other on certain topics, they can do things like get rid of the CEO. They can do things like veto a takeover or, there's so many things that investors can do if they band together, It's kind of like do you remember that in Finding Nemo and the fish get caught in the net and they're like, no, we've been caught in the net. And then it's like this one fish is like, we've got to all swim down. We've got to all swim down. And then they all start swimming down and they all, with the force of all of them, they break the net and they set themselves free. And
This
it's
is
kind of
the best analogy and example. I loved that so much.
I love that movie so much. That was actually one of my first business ideas. Anyway, sorry.
What was? A net?
No, it was selling goldfish at school.
Oh,
And it was at the time of Finding Nemo. And I just remember looking around the courtyard at school, and everyone was carrying these little bags of goldfish that I'd sold them. And I was like, genius. And it became this trend. But also selling live fish.
Yeah, interesting business idea. I also had a very successful business for our year 12 business studies. We were selling toiletry bags. And they were like those, were they called Lulus or something? Or Lulu? They were in, they were in a random shop that we all loved. They had those cherry prints and all that. Anyway, did very well. Look, both of us just, at a very young age, coming up with random ideas that actually didn't totally suck. Quite good.
Another one of mine, this was actually a really good one, except we had issues with our manufacturer. It was a quad bike alarm that was like motion censored. And if you stole a quad bike, this ball in the dish would like wriggle and set off an alarm. So it's like motion censored.
Can we just talk, how on earth did you think about quad bikes? Like when had you ever been on a quad bike?
I know it was like these like six city girls at this private school launching a quad bike alarm. It was quite funny.
Quite clever though.
Yeah, it was because in the paper at the time, someone had been shot because they'd stolen their quad bike, and it was like all this news. It was like, anyway, and we were like, oh, we come up with an idea.
I was looking at the news from a young age. I don't think I'd opened a newspaper until I was like 30. That's impressive.
Anyway, Novo Nordisk CEO has left, share price has fallen, and the board of directors, so they're kind of like the spokespeople for the shareholders, have said, don't worry, things are all going to keep going to plan. We're just going to get a new person to steer the ship. And investors are like, you know what? You had a really good one that did really well. You got rid of him. So, yeah. But I think there's still such a huge, big opportunity in such a massive market. And we're only seeing the beginning of this.
I actually agree. And I'm quite interested to hear about the Lily Lou or whatever the competing business is. Eli Lilly in the club, because it's like, do you buy Novo Nordisk while it's down, or is the opportunity for whatever the Lilly one is to, grow even bigger than Novo Nordisk? It's kind of the question, right?
Yeah.
Like what?
It's like, do you back the winning horse, or do you back the
underdog,
new coming stud that's kind of...
The only thing I would say is I really don't like the way that these weight loss drugs are like becoming recreational drugs. I hate that.
No, neither. And it's like with with a new technology, for example, there's always those people that the minority, which is actually kind of probably turning into a lot of the majority here as well, that are abusing it, and it kind of taints it for like social media, for example, there is certain people that abuse it or that use it for the wrong reasons, or
I have an example of this.
Yeah.
So we've been going around LA trying to go to these yummy spots. We just went to this bagel shop before this and we were waiting in the queue, no joke, for an hour. There was people around the corner for bagels. And then once you'd ordered, it's another half an hour once you've paid. Like it's basically a day activity. And my friend was like, this never used to be like this. It's bloody TikTok, you know? And the same thing happened yesterday. We went to go get like an iced matcha or whatever from this place. And the queue was like a kilometer long. It was like, this is ridiculous. But it was all because of social media. It's because there's all these young people being like, yeah, this is the best bagel in town. And then it just like, you know, for all the things that social media can be good for, there is an underbelly. And you're right. It's like there's always going to be like downsides of something great. And with something like a weight loss drug, while it can be amazing for people who are like needing it for health reasons, there's always going to be the undercurrent of someone taking advantage of or exploiting in a bad way or whatever.
And then there's regulation that comes, right?
Yeah,
like,
true.
We're seeing that now with social media. We will most likely see that probably sooner rather than later with all these weight loss drugs as well. Like there's, everyone gets excited and it gets to a point where it's like, okay, whoa, okay, now
actually, that's so true. There might be like regulation around, you know, you have to be actually clinically obese to be able to get access to it or whatever.
Yeah, and then that would be obviously detrimental to the share prices of these companies. So there's so many, particularly when you're dealing with healthcare companies, regulation is so key because it could also work in the other way, right? You could be like, all right, actually this has been really, really great. The government's going to give 50% subsidies to all weight loss drugs. And so that just booms in demand. So regulation can work either way when you're dealing with healthcare companies.
Yeah, that's actually such a good point.
And lastly, a little bit of news is that Foot Locker. So do you know Foot Locker?
Yeah, the cool sneakers.
Yeah, they have just been bought. So they were a public company and they've now just been bought by Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a massive US sporting company. Kind of think of it like Rebel Sport, like has lots of different sports inside this one store. It's a $14 billion company and it is buying Foot Locker, a $2 billion company, but Foot Locker's share price went up 85% in one day.
Oh, can you tell me this shit before it happens, please?
I don't know. That's insider trading. If I knew that, I would be arrested.
Okay. Yeah.
But I want to say this, like Foot Locker has not been doing very well. Like its share price in 2021 was $65 and it just got bought for $24 a share.
Oh my God, and that was 80% up.
That was 85% up. So it was $13, it jumped to $24, but it's not nearly back to where it was in 2021. Okay. So if you had been holding shares all the way down and you got 85%, well, it's great for someone who bought, you know, the day before. It's still pretty shitty for someone who's been holding for a while.
I feel like it is quite 90s though, isn't it, Foot Locker? You know, like I think it had its heyday about 30 years ago. So I'm not overly surprised.
It's a great like realization though that if you want to get your kids interested in investing, there are lots of companies out there that kids will know, right? Like teenagers will know Foot Locker. They'll know if it's doing bad or good. And so it's a really good example of...
Vic, you've got to be a cooler mum than that. You're not recommending your kid looks at Foot Locker. Let's get a bit more exciting. No, but I'm like, if they... You know, I think... Sorry, it was more the mindset of if your kid's interested in Nike, you know, you can buy Nike shares. If your kid's interested in Puma, if your kid's interested in Adidas, like if your kid's interested in Pepsi... Yeah.
You get my drift. There are so many companies out there that are great for getting your kids interested in investing. But that is all from me. Go and enjoy your $20 smoothie and take photos. Take photos of all the cool trends and everything. Write it down. Let's make this a research trip, please.
Yeah, I agree. Also, what I would say is I think this is a good example of when the Investing Club has people from all over the world, we'll be spotting all these ideas from all these different places. Because like, you know, if we'd had like some photos in from Erewhon or whatever it's called with all of the drinks, we would have been like, 6 months ago, you know? And maybe we could have bought Pepsi before it got, Poppy before it got taken over by Pepsi.
Well, it's a private company, sorry.
Shush, don't kill my dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, well, enjoy your Saturday night. Thanks for spending it. Oh, no, it's Sunday, isn't it? Sunday, speaking to me. And I'll see you soon. Oh my God, I'm
See
really
you very
excited.
soon. She's halfway here. She's slowly making way. I hope I don't lose her to LA.
You won't. Okay. Bye.
See you. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you did hate it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Nice. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.
No, actually, though. New episodes out every Tuesday. Okay, quickly. The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.